Today marks the beginning of the 2018 midterm election cycle, with the Texas primary between, well, rather, with the expected nominees for both parties being incumbent Senator Cruz and Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who, were it not for his entry into this race, I probably would not care, in the classical sense that I've multiple times on this channel described myself as someone who's more ideology based than party. So, for example, um, if you can show me a Republican who aligns more with my views than a Democrat, the Republican's more likely to get my support. If you can find me a Democrat who more likely aligns with my views, then it's a Democrat. Now, O'Rourke is not taking any PAC money or just any of these corporate donors' puppet boy, as Cruz and many of the other sitting members of Congress are. Um, in addition to supporting Medicare for all and just having many of the views that I am aligned with. These are on his website for those to check out. Um, and I sat there and I kind of said to myself, is this really possible? Because you have people who will tell you, well, this state is so red, it's impossible, it's not something that can happen. And sure enough, those were my beliefs during the Alabama Senate race, because they were sitting there and talking about the fact that the state hadn't had a Democrat since I'd been alive. In the case of Texas, it's pretty similar. They haven't had a Democrat as senator since Lloyd Benson left the Senate in '93. So you have a very steep hill to climb if you're a Democrat running for state office in Texas, or really just in the South at this point, except with the possible exception of Georgia. But nonetheless, I am intending to do everything I can to support his campaign, which is plagued by a lack of name recognition and where it's basing its operations. And I will, or I've rather given consideration to just making a full length video on all the reasons for why Cruz should not retain that seat. Whether it was over his stance on net neutrality, his opposing of a fix for DACA, the various, just there are things that can be picked out of his record that I think are very telling of who we're dealing with. And Cruz really is not that bad to me in terms of just what's around him, because more often than not, if it was a generic Democrat like Doug Jones in Alabama, I'm bringing up that race a second time, I wouldn't care, because what they stand for is whatever their donors tell them to, whatever they think is going to get them more votes. So I have a lack of confidence nor belief in any of these politicians. And it takes for one who I think, or at least know rather, is not taking cash from these corporate donors, and who I think can actually not be the subject of influence by backwater money, for me to get excited. So I am aware of his steep, steep, steep hill to climb, but I definitely would hope that O'Rourke wins this. And I think he'll win the Democratic nomination, but November is when we'll see what actually happens. So thank you.